Hello, Sue Tabb with David O'Leary, Magic 106.7. We are here teaming up with our friends at Century Bank and some area nonprofits that we are supporting. And right now we are here with Diane Sullivan. She is the Assistant Dean at the Mass School of Law and the President of the Shadow Fund.
Thanks for having
Welcome.
me here today.
Yeah, we want to hear all about Shadow Fund. Tell us what it's about.
The Shadow Fund is a small fund that's designed to help people that have a important family pet, very important part of the family, that is facing euthanasia because the family lacks the funds to be able to give it the medical attention it needs. For example, just last night, I received a call from a woman, single family home, disability within the family, and she woke up to a pool of blood underneath her dog, and he was chewing his paw off. Well, it turns out they don't have a dime. He has an infection, and the leg needs to be amputated, and the cost is $2,000. Yeah. This is a family that doesn't have $20.
Right.
And so the Shadow Fund is able to contribute to that worthy cause. I can't imagine having a pet that you have to euthanize because you don't have the money.
Right, and pets are so hugely important to people. As you said, they become vital parts of the family. And some people, especially if they live alone, they rely on that pet for, company and comfort. You can't really say how much that pet means to a person.
How did this organization get started? What's the genesis of how it began?
It's an interesting story. How does a law school provide funds to help people with their pet? Right. Well, there was a veteran, and we do help a lot of veterans and elderly and single family homes. But this initial veteran, there was a story in the local paper that his dog named Shadow had a serious leg injury. And it was going to be a $4,000 surgery. Now, the man was quitting his job at a fast food restaurant. He was a veteran, partially disabled, because he had no money, and the only money he had in the world was in a 401k plan. And so that plan prohibited in-service withdrawals. So the only way he could access the only money he had was to quit his job. And so I read this and I said, you got to be kidding me. A veteran who, sacrificed.
Make a choice between
that's a terrible choice to make.
And I just thought that was just a horrible situation. So I stepped into the newspaper reporter and asked for his number, and I called him and I said, you don't know me, but do not quit your job. Give me 24 hours. And it was interesting because one of the local veterinarians read the story and he was equally moved. And the reporter put us together, and the veterinarian said, if you can raise $1,000, you're law students. He said, I'll do the surgery for $1,000. Well, so many people heard about it. They sent in much more money than we needed, and the Shadow Fund began.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's a great story. I don't know you that well, but I don't get the feeling too many people say no to you when you set your mind to doing something. And people who are pet owners, I'm sure who are watching this right now get this. You know, like whatever we have to do to make sure that the dog or the cat or whatever the animal is okay. You'll do whatever you can. But I bet there are people who aren't pet owners who understand the bond and what that animal means to a person or to a family who contribute and support the Shadow Fund as well.
That's absolutely true. Our greatest moment was one day I opened the mail and there was a check that was anonymous for $25,000. Wow. And the lawyer sent it on behalf of the client who wouldn't have his name revealed, but all I know, this was not a pet owner, but he understood what he thought was a very worthy goal.
And I was going to say, where does the money come from? So it's sometimes it's students, sometimes it's anonymous donors. Where are you seeing it coming from?
If I wasn't a lawyer, I'd probably say I beg, borrow, and steal everywhere I can. But but the truth of the matter is, I left the law school last night, and there's a big water jug asking for people to check their house and their car for change. And then tomorrow, there's a 3-on-3 basketball tournament with our students. It's anywhere we have a golf tournament or an education day. We don't get a lot of outside contributions, and it's really hard because I don't want to say no to people that are going to lose their dog or their cat, who's so important to the family. But it's really hard to raise the money, particularly in today's times, and we're not well known. You know,
Right.
we're not the American Red Cross. We're
Right.
this little fund up in Andover that really tries to help people.
Right, but you're doing such good work, which is why we're here trying to spread awareness
And
of what you do.
I am so appreciative
Yes.
of that and Century Bank. I can't tell you how grateful I am for this opportunity.
How do you find the folks to help? Do most of them hear about you word of mouth? Do you reach out to people that other people tell you, look, this person's struggling, they need care for their pet?
No, they find us. I receive on average, myself and my assistant, 5 calls a day on average for people that need help. So one friend tells the other friend, an interesting part of this is there's an elderly home here in Boston. Well, you help one person and they tell
all
everybody
hear
on
about
every
it.
Oh, you know who you
floor,
should call? Yeah.
and there's 50 cats that need help the next day.
And you're looking at your jar going,
Yeah,
there's just not
please.
enough in here.
But do you find it, I mean, do you work with caregivers and maybe clinics, veterinary clinics, sort of in your area,
Yes.
Merrimack Valley sort of area that are friends of the organization that maybe will help out a little bit and work with you a little bit on care?
Social workers call us on behalf of their clients, disability centers, lots of veterinary office call us and say, gee, would you be able to help out or, with this particular situation?
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to make a donation, what's the best way to do that?
The very best way to do it is to either send in a check to the Shadow Fund NE and send it, care of my attention at the Massachusetts School of Law, which is 500 Federal Street in Andover, and the zip there is 01810. But you can also go online to the Shadow Fund NE, or you can go to the Massachusetts School of Law, and there are donation buttons that you can donate right online.
Super easy.
Yeah. Is it primarily dogs and cats? I imagine there are other animals as well, but 80, 90% dogs and cats?
Yeah, 90%. Occasionally there's a horse or a rabbit or some other pet that's really important to the family, but it is principally dogs and cats.
Yeah. What pets bring to families and individuals, it's hard to overstate how much they mean to people. So the work that you're doing is really, really valued.
And I try to make every decision about would I do this for my own dog? And if the answer is yes, I want to find a way to help that person.
I was just going to say, you must be a dog or a
Oh,
cat
yeah.
owner. You're obviously an animal lover.
I am. Guilty as charged.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that information. Again, we want to give your website, which is shadowfundne.org.
Right.
If people want to find out more, make a donation. Great work that you're doing. We wish you continued success. We're so happy you shared some of this with us today.
Again, thank you, and thank you to the Century Bank.